Yeah, I'm really excited to be on this flight. My name is Charlie Manganello, and I am in charge of a small grassroots organization called Togwotee Backcountry Alliance. And really, we're trying to just be a voice, education around non-motorized use in this area. And so that's the relationship between snowmobilers and skiers and Nordic skiers, sometimes snowshoers, up in this area because we have a big playground to use up here. So this is an area called Togwotee Pass, northern end of the Wind River Range, the southern end of the Absarokas, and it's a really, really cool spot because there's not much for anything around except this one road that goes over the pass. So off to the left here, you can see Lava Mountain and you can see the road, and there's this Deception Creek area where there's a lot of great groom trails for cross-country skiers. And what we'll see is most snowmobilers know not to be using those trails as their own. I do think there has been a lot of evidence and stories of people using those cross-country trails with their snowmobiles. So when people are starting to learn about this area, they know not to do that because it's a real bummer for Nordic skiers when their trails are all chewed up. Yeah, so Bruce, we're getting right into the area here now. Off to the front left, we see Brooks Lake. This is the Pinnacle Buttes, and we're looking at Jules Bowl here, right down under the plane and over the right wing. We can start to see some tracks here. I can't really tell. It looks like snowmobile tracks, maybe some skier tracks in the bowl here. Yeah, this is the zone where a lot of skiers and snowmobilers will be back in. And then Bear Cub Pass off in the distance, and this kind of ridge off in the front and to the left is kind of our wilderness boundary. And so we just went over Jules Bowl and we're kind of heading straight north, and this is where we're looking at two different national forests right now. And so this plateau is kind of somewhere near Bonneville Pass, and this flat, kind of snowy, beautiful top here is a wilderness boundary, but also a boundary between two forests. So the Shoshone that we're flying over right now, we're looking off now into the Bridger Teton. And so, yeah, Bruce, thanks for turning around here. It's kind of funny to go over a big, large landscape pretty quickly, but off to the left here, you'll see Jules Bowl again, over off there in the distance, and we're starting to look at Upper Brooks Lake and into the Bear Cub Pass. And what we'll see here sometimes is it's really easy to just be on a nice ski or snowmobile, and so we'll see folks get into the wilderness boundary area here. And so we're right off into the nose of the plane here. We're seeing that upper Brooks Lake, and we can really have some conflict here with wilderness boundary poaching and skiers. And I think really what we're trying to show here is just this really awesome, beautiful area for both people to recreate in. But of course, if you're really not sure what's going on, or if you haven't been looking at your map, you don't really know where you're going, it's pretty easy to start to poach into that wilderness area. What we're looking off here to the right is Brooks Lake Lodge and Brooks Lake. We can kind of see Sublette Pass here. You see the big ridge, the snowfield, and right where that little crook is Sublette Pass, and a lot of skiers and snowmobilers. And historically, there's been a lot of skiing on Sublette Pass. And what's unfortunate that we've seen, and of course we all got to kind of play nice and share, is we've seen snowmobilers kind of take over that area, and lots of skiers who don't really want to be around a lot of that noise or tracks kind of have abandoned that area. And historically, that's been a really easy spot for backcountry skiers to use, and even off the backside of this thing and over the pass. We used to use that a lot, or a lot of the older skiers I've talked to used to use that a lot. Snowmobiles have kind of somewhat taken it over, and it'd be nice to see some skiers use that area a little bit more. Now we're in the Bridger Teton National Forest, but still within the bounds of motorized use. Off to the right here is the beautiful range of the Tetons, so you can imagine the access is pretty easy, right? The Jackson Hole Airport's right there. We're just going over Brescia Peak here. And so this is the road, and it's really only an hour's drive from this major area. And just off here to the left is our Two Ocean Peak. Yep, that peak right there. That whole north slope is historically a big ski area with a lot of backcountry skiers. It's really easy to access, pretty mellow terrain. And in years past, the snowmobilers were on groomed trails a lot, and the technology has changed a lot, the same way the technology has changed for backcountry skiing. And now snowmobilers, snow bikes can get into terrain they used to not be able to. And so the conflict was kind of mitigated by technology. And now everyone's kind of using the same zones. And it's not only, of course, we have people that want to have a quieter space, but it's definitely a concern for public, like just safety. Snowmobilers and skiers kind of interacting in areas really quickly, and we definitely don't want skiers or snowmobilers to trigger avalanches on one another if you don't know another party's out there. Of course, a snowmobiler is going to be well heard. A skier could, be just in the woods, and a snowmobiler wouldn't know the difference. And so below here is just the classic meadows of Togwotee and what people travel far and wide for snowmobiling. Obviously, skiers, like touring around, but are looking for more shaded slopes and stuff to ski on. Obviously, being unmotorized, flat stuff isn't that cool after a while. But this is a really cool spot for snowmobilers. There's groomed trails, there's a lot of infrastructure here for people to really enjoy this beautiful area and not having to be on a ski setup. We can see tons of snowmobile tracks. And so another thing we'll see here is we're kind of going over the parking area, Wind River Lakes off here, off the nose of the plain. There's not a lot of parking. And as you can imagine, these trucks and trailers are pretty big, pushing these snowmobiles around. And we really don't see it today, but we have a lot of conflict with parking. Some people don't know how to park well. I've seen snowmobiler people really upset with skiers parking behind their trailer and they can't get their snowmobiles back in or out, and then vice versa. Snowmobilers kind of taking up the whole lot and not leaving much room for a small Tacoma or a Subaru up here for skiers. But the left side of the road here off to the left is classically a big snowmobile area, and this right side of the road is of course a really nice zone for snowmobiling. But we've proposed in the past that there might be some zones for skier only traffic, just so people can kind of have a little bit of that non-motorized use experience up into Sublette Pass or maybe up into the Brusha Meadows, which again we're talking about different forests now, but I think this speaks to the collaboration that's going to be needed for both forests to kind of talk together and work. Because another big example that we'll see here is the two forests have separate rules as far as over snow use for a cap of the season or a start of the season, instead of just when the first snow flies, snowmobilers just bopping around on Togwotee and get vegetation and maybe damaging the resource. So I think not only talking a little bit more about what it might look like on Togwotee, but also how we can work together and kind of create these zones for skiers as well as snowmobilers, so everyone can have a good experience. Really, our hope in this flight path, and thanks again for EcoFlight and Bruce for taking us out to be able to show this, because some people are sitting in Forest Service seats, decision makers haven't been out to this forest yet, and some of our recreational users haven't seen all of the zone. And my hope is to show, or our hope is to show, how beautiful and amazing this spot is. But knowing that down the pipeline here in the future, I don't think snowmobiling or skiing is going to get any less busy. And we're going to need the infrastructure to kind of look down ahead into the future about what this is going to look like with more people up here. And I don't think it's necessarily taking away anything from any user group. It's just enhancing the experience for both user groups and having a little bit more opportunity for all of us to enjoy this space